My very first pony ride was when I was in preschool and I was about 3.5 years old. And ever since I sat on that pony, I just fell in love with horses. I mean, anytime we went on field trips to like the zoo or the animal farm that was nearby, like I'm talking when I was in preschool now, I would just be like, they couldn't pull me away from the horses.
Aww.
They could not get me away.
Wow.
And for my 4th birthday, my parents had ponies come to my backyard
Oh, wow.
party. And
Yeah.
it was like, 4-year-old's dream come true, having ponies in our backyard for a birthday. And ever since then, every birthday after that, I had the same ponies come back to my house every year until I was about 8 years old. And the woman who did the pony parties at my house, who brought them there, she told my mom on my 8th birthday that I was getting a little bit too big for pony parties.
For pony parties.
So she said, why don't you bring her over to my house and we'll start some
sweet.
riding lessons. And, she'll get to take care of the horses and get to ride them more on her own, not being led around. So my mom, agreed to that, obviously, because there was nothing else I wanted to do at that age.
Yeah.
And that woman's name was Rosie, and she has been like such an instrumental person in my life. She is who got me into horses and is the reason why I do what I do today.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah. So she has since moved to North Carolina, and we still keep in touch. She actually has one of my retired horses living with her. So she's like a super close family friend. So it's just like really
so
nice
neat.
that she's known me from when I was just 4 years old.
So was her barn like she did the pony parties, but did she have all kinds of horses at her barn, and how did you start out riding then?
So she had primarily a lot of small ponies, but she did have a few horses. She primarily did like pony parties. That was like most of what she did with them. But when I started riding with her, I started on the pony who came to my house. His name was Chief, and I rode him for about 2 years until I was ready to like graduate to a full-size horse. And that horse, he had no vision in his right eye. So that was definitely like something challenging for me as like a 10-year-old rider. Like, I was still a beginner at that time. But it was, something that I learned to work with, and we worked off each other, and that horse was my heart horse for sure.
How sweet. Were you riding English or Western or just,
I was riding Western at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so
It was
sweet.
just, kind of safer for a little kid to start riding Western, I guess.
So what
That's
do
how
you
I
ride
started.
now?
Right now, I'm primarily English. I
English.
do like hunter jumper stuff.
What age did you switch over?
I switched over when I was 13. So when Rosie moved away to North Carolina, I started riding at a very versatile show barn, and that's how I dipped my feet into English riding as well. And I mean, I've done everything from, Western pleasure, barrel racing, pole bending, hunters, jumpers. I did a little bit of dressage, eventing. So I've done like a little bit of everything.
What's your favorite? Like you and I kind of have similar stories. We didn't do all the barrel racing or anything, but I started out Western, switched over when I was 12 because we moved, and our neighbor was an English rider, and I just fell in love with it. It was just, I just knew like that was my place, And I think about now, the age that I'm at, maybe like thinking about, maybe Western would be more comfortable, and maybe changing because I've done it before. It is kind of nice.
Right.
But do you have like favorite parts of Western still, or are you just really English?
I don't really ride Western anymore, but like my favorite part of the Western discipline, my horse and I, we did what's called extreme arena trail challenges. And that's when they set up, all these obstacles in an arena to mimic what you would find out on the trail. Bridges and, water obstacles and you name it, they have it in the arena. That is something that was one of my favorite things to do, and it's one of my horse's favorite things to do. But yeah,
that's the coolest thing. We learn something new every time we talk to somebody. So like our thing is that we're just horse people talking to other horse people, learning about other things. I have never heard of extreme trail riding in an arena before, and that sounds like it would be so much fun.
It is so much fun. And right before I left New York, the Horsemen's Association that I was a part of up in Long Island, they had started the Arena Trail Challenges like 2 years before I left to come to Florida. So it was still fairly new, like around that time. So that's like probably like 2014 or so that happened. And yeah, it was fairly new to them. And it was like a new discipline that we wanted to try. And like, we just turned out to be pretty good at it. And it was a lot of fun. So it was exciting.
Horse people are very creative. They have a lot of things that they can think about to do.
When I was little, we were in 4-H. We had obstacle class. So, I mean, I was just so little, tiny, because I was too little to be in 4-H, but my sister was, so I'd tag along. So my horse, they let me do a class, which was just really awesome for me. And we just walked. That was it, because my horse was just this old gelding, We went right up to the gate and walked right up to it, and I kind of just unlocked it. My horse would just push the gate open with his nose, and then we just turned around and he'd push it with his nose, and I could lock it. And it was just so funny because, he helped so much, and it was cute because everybody just thought it was so funny. He just did all the work, it was really sweet. So that was my obstacle class days, when I was really little. So, but they are fun, on a bigger scale, it would be a lot of fun. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun.
So did you start, was part of the working that you did at the barn in exchange for lessons, or did you ever make money at the barn, or how did your venture go then?
So back then, I did I would clean stalls to have lessons or for what they call like free riding time. That was pretty much the exchange there. But I didn't do that for very long because then I got, I ended up graduating high school and then went off to college, and then I started, working full time, and I didn't ride as much, but then that was when I got my own horse. So then I didn't need to clean stalls to ride anymore.
There you go. Yep. Move right on up. That's it.
So I guess how did all of that lead into grooming? Because you said you went to college. So what did you go to college for?
Originally I went to college to be a secondary ed English teacher.
Okay.
And I changed my major probably like 3 times. It wasn't until I got up to like the whole observation part where you had to sit in the classroom and like watch the teacher teach and like take your notes and whatnot. I don't know. I just realized that wasn't really for me. I didn't want to be, stuck in a school all the time.
Yeah.
So I changed my major to journalism. I wanted to try to branch out into, kind of like mixing the horse world in with journalism. And that went well for a little while, but it still wasn't like, I didn't want to have like a set track. I wanted to be able to like branch out to different things. So I ended up just changing it to English and communications. And that has helped me tremendously with, being the voice behind my business and doing a lot of social media. I mean, it's important. You have to know how to, market yourself if you want to be successful. So I would say that definitely helped a lot.
Did you have any idea at that time that you were thinking of going into anything like this? With none at all? Wow.
No,
okay.
I had no idea.
Okay, so where did you go from there then, and what led to where you are then today?
So, well, to make a longer story short,
That's okay.
I ended up working like my first full-time job after college, and it was just like a very boring desk cubicle job. I hated it. It was the worst 2 years of my life because during that time, my now husband, he moved to Florida for his job. So we did the long distance thing, and with me working at that job, it was just miserable. And I was like, I have to move to Florida because I knew he wasn't going to be able to move back, but I didn't want to move down here without having a job lined up. Like, I had my horse that would be coming with me. Like, I had responsibility to him. I needed to be able to take care of him. So it took me a long time to find a job here. And when I did, I just uprooted my life and came down and moved my horse down with me. And the job that I took here, I was a vet tech for one of the equine hospitals in Wellington. And that was just like a fantastic experience. I've learned so much from there, and I can actually take a lot of the knowledge that I learned from there into what I do now. And it's just been really awesome. But I ended up leaving there around this time of year last year. And I wanted to really dive into grooming more. That was always just like my favorite part. Like, I always loved, when I was showing back in the day, getting the horse ready for their show was like my favorite part of the whole process. So I really wanted to, find a way to do that. And, I started clipping my own horse because I couldn't really find anybody down here who was, good to do that. And who was also available too. Like, availability is hard to come by down here when there's so many horses in South Florida. So, I started clipping him myself, and I really enjoyed it. So I just decided to do that, and here I am.
Wow. That's really interesting, though, that, it was in you to do, right? I mean, like, you knew you enjoyed that, so then you found what you enjoyed and went through and pursued your job through that. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that I was able to, take the leap. It was a really, really hard decision to leave the clinic. But, I wanted to build something for myself, and I wasn't going to be able to do that with the lack of time that I had for making that a reality. So that's what kind of triggered that plunge.
Did you have... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, so what does a day in the life of a groomer look like then?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, it starts before the sun.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Wake up every morning before the sun.
Oh, wow.
It's definitely like, long days. I groom privately up in Wellington for, I'm an FEI dressage groom, and I have 4 horses who I primarily take care of. So yeah, I just get up really early every morning. I drive an hour to Wellington.
What
take care of the
time's
horses,
really early?
feed them.
What time is your
them.
really early time, Kristen? What time is early?
Like 4:30 in the morning.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And go ahead.
Yeah. So just take care of them, get them ready for their lessons, cool them off after their lessons, get them ready for the show, go to the show with them. Whatever they need, I'm there for them. And it's also important to, be able to notice things that might not be quite right with them too. I have to have my eyes open for, everything at any point in the day. And if something is, a little bit off, then like they need to know about it. And, they're the kind of people who will, call the vet for anything that's wrong with their horses. And like, that's the kind of people who I want to work for though.
Right.
Not the kind of people who, will sit on something and just let it fester and get worse and then do something about it. So they're very proactive about their horse care, and I really respect that about them.
So are you doing like special things with the horses, like braiding or anything, or is it, I know you would probably do that for the shows, but on an everyday occasion, are you braiding too, or are you just getting them groomed for lessons?
They just get braided for the shows.
Just for the shows.
Yeah.
So
And they were showing pretty often this season. Not really like every other weekend, but kind of close to that.
Can you take us through and tell us basically if you're getting a horse ready for a show, what does that look like your day, and
What's your routine?
what you kind of do, the routine of it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, prepping for a show, it starts with a bath. You have to get them super clean, and having a hose with a lot of like good water pressure is very important, because you need to really power wash them and get everything out from underneath their coat and whatnot. And also just scrubbing them really well, getting all their white markings white. And then, I put them in front of the fan, let them dry. While they're drying, I'm usually braiding them, because I like to braid a wet mane. And, then get them all booted up for the trailer and send them on their way.
Wow.
So what are your top grooming tips? Like, what are the most useful things or like tricks that you've come up with that
or brushes or
Yeah.
anything?
Products?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think probably for horses who have like a lot of white points on them, and I'm not talking about like gray horses, but horses who have like high socks or high stockings, or paint horse or something. Baby powder on those white spots will really, really enhance them. A lot of people have asked me, oh, like I have a gray horse, so like what can I do for my gray horse? The purple shampoo is great.
That's interesting.
Yeah, purple shampoo is your best friend for white.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure not every horse that you handle wants to be bathed at that time or
That's what
groomed.
I was gonna ask.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we've all had those horses that you're ready for show day, and they're like not about it. How do you work around that when the horses are grumpy or crabby? How do you, do you have any little tricks or things that you do when you've got a crabby, grumpy horse, or
I mean, usually I would just take them for a walk. Let them kind of hand grace for a little bit, let them do something that they enjoy, give them, a break in their stall, let them munch on some hay. The goal isn't obviously to overwhelm the horse. Like if they're not really feeling it that day, then I have to just take a different approach to it, because I need them to cooperate with me.
Right, exactly. Right.
And, the same thing goes for when I do my body clipping. I get a lot of horses who don't really want to participate, who aren't very willing to stand still for 2 hours to get clipped. And that's when, I give a lot of breaks. If someone starts getting fidgety, then okay, maybe they have to go to the bathroom, maybe they need a drink of water. So I'm not ever in a hurry to finish clipping a horse. It's all based on, how they're feeling that day and what they're up to. So if they need 5 breaks, then that's what it is.
That's so good.
A lot of times I'll put a hay net in front of them. It makes them, kind of just stand more still and just be quieter and more relaxed. But I also get a lot of horses who are more than happy to just take a nap on cross ties and get clipped.
So are there trends like with the braiding, or is there really only certain braids that you can do and that's about it? And then the body clipping too. Are there any trends with body clipping?
So for body clipping in South Florida, full body clips are very, very popular down here, mainly because it's just so hot all the time and horses need all their hair off. Whereas, up north, you'll see like Irish clips and trace clips. You don't really see those kind of clips down here because they just don't need it. It's just too hot for them to have any bit of fluff on them if they're in full work. But yeah, so full body clips are very popular here, and hunter clips. So like a lot of people will choose to leave the hair on their legs, or do a blended leg where I'll blend the legs down, from the knee down. This way it leaves a little bit of like natural protection from flies and insects and whatnot. And then as far as braiding goes, for the dressage horses that I take care of, they all get button braids. Hunter horses, they would just get the regular flat hunter braids. But I've kind of branched out with my braiding, like, practicing on my own horse. And, I get some people who say, oh, well, like my horse has a long mane, but I want it to be braided up nicely. Am I going to have to cut their mane to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I just say no. I actually have one client that's, local
Wow.
to me here who has an Andalusian mare. So she has a beautiful long black mane, and
Wow.
she was going to her first dressage show, and she was like, I don't want to cut her mane, but I want her to be braided somehow and have her mane look nice. So I was like, okay. So there's a braid called a scallop braid that I've learned to do, and it's like super easy to do for horses with long mane. So I taught her how to do it, and she's practicing it and doing pretty well with it. It's a type of braid that pretty much like anybody can do. If you know how to braid like straight down, then that's all you need to do, because then you just feed it into the next one, braid it into the next one,
Wow.
feed it through again, and it just like keeps going down their neck. So
I never knew you could do that. I did not know that. I mean, we always cut the mane so we could, not cut it, but pulled it, of course. Well, I cut sometimes, I shouldn't have, but, but pulled and then did the short, to have the little button braids. That's really something.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah.
Pretty neat. So the tails, do you do the tails so far down too as well? Or do you, is that not?
For the hunters, yes, we would do that. But for the dressage horses, no, they don't do that.
Okay. Okay.
What about when we were younger and we just didn't know anything, and we had like no Google to look anything up, or
We just
and we
followed
haven't
what
done this for
people
so
did.
long. We have not. We
Yeah, we
brush
were
our
told.
horses and we go out on the trail now. But what about the like when we would do their whiskers and things like that, and we would shave those, like,
Their
is that,
muzzle.
and even in their ears?
Do you wait on the muzzle or is the muzzle? That's a
glad you asked that
controversial. Yeah.
question.
Uh-huh.
That's
yeah.
like a,
That's
is
a
that
big
like
one.
a thing that people still do or do not do anymore?
So for hunters, they'll do it. For jumpers, like it's kind of up to them, whatever they want. For dressage, it's a big no. It's
Right.
actually
Yeah.
it's actually illegal in Germany to touch their whiskers.
Really?
Yes.
Yep.
And it's a fairly controversial topic.
It is. It really is
Yeah.
a tough one because you do get opposing, opinions.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, for the horses who I clip who are not in show down here, I do not clip the insides of their ears. I tell people, unless your horse is going to live in a fly mask that has ears, I'm not clipping the insides of their ears, because then it's just
That's
it's
so
just
kind.
like an open gate for the flies. Like, hey, bugs, come on in.
Yeah.
So we don't want that for our horses who
Right.
are not showing.
Right.
But for the show horses, I mean, they live in fly gear, so
Yeah.
it's not uncommon to be asked to do the inside of their ears for show horses. But yeah, as far as whiskers go, it's very controversial.
Is there anything with like body clipping that when people, if they do it themselves, that would be anything to keep in mind with body clipping? I know with the, as you're clipping and so forth, you've got to make sure that the blades are oiled and things like that. But then what about
Right.
the oil on the horse? Is there anything you do about that? That type of thing?
I mean, the biggest thing would be like bathe your horse first. Never clip a dirty horse unless it's for medical reasons or something, or it's the middle of winter and your horse must be clipped. Like, there's exceptions, but in general, you don't want to ever clip a dirty horse. And don't put any product on them. Like, don't put any oil on their coat prior to clipping them. Don't put any kind of coat shine on their coat prior to clipping them. You just want a clean coat, because it'll just make it super easy for the blades to get through.
That's what I wondered. Is it for the horse or for the blades or for both? Or
I mean, for both, because if you're clipping a dirty coat, or you're clipping a coat that has a lot of product in it, it's going to build up in your blades, and I'm going to start pulling on their hair.
Yeah.
So not that, I mean, we would probably still have some of these issues here, but like you're in Florida and say you body clip a horse, then what about turning them out right after that? In the like, do you have to be careful with like a full blast sun, or I mean, is that something you have to be thoughtful of when you're doing these body clippings?
Yeah, absolutely. So for gray horses, I will not clip them in a 10 blade, which is like your typical show clip blade. Gray horses will burn under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So I use a T84 blade on gray horses. It leaves their coat a little bit longer, a little more natural protection. I recommend, putting a fly sheet on them or turning them out at night until their coat grows back in just a little bit, or just using, I don't know the name of the brand, but there's a product out there that is basically like a sunscreen spray for horses. So I'll recommend that for gray horses who are prone to burning. But for your typical like bays and chestnuts and pinks and Appaloosas and whatnot, they really shouldn't burn. But a lot of people don't turn out during the day here.
Okay.
And if they do, it's only for like a very short time, like a couple, like two hours or 3 hours max. So you really don't have to worry too much about horses burning if they're not gray.
If you're up here, and I know that they do body clips sometimes, and you were talking about the different body clips, maybe you could explain what those are. And if you're up here and it's cold and you body clip, what would you do for something like that?
So for colder weather clips for horses who are in like moderate to full work, I'd recommend a trace clip. And that basically just takes the hair off like the midsection through the horse up to its neck. That, it takes all the hair off of the areas that sweat the most, because the object is so that they dry quicker, that their sweat evaporates quicker, that they are not, catching a chill in the cold when they're cooling down. But there's other variations that, you can go for, like an Irish clip, which, you take from the underside of the belly up towards where a trace clip would be. It's just like not the back half of the trace clip. Yeah.
So hoof wise, is there anything that you like to use, like, or do to hoofs that you like to make them stand out, or is it just, do you use, like, of course we have like hoof oils and things like that, or is there, what do you like to use then? I know you want to really make those hoofs stand out too.
Yeah, any type of hoof oil will be good for making the feeties shine. You just you don't want to put like a thick layer of anything on, because then it's going to trap, the dirt in the footing of your ring and whatnot. So just like a thin layer. And sometimes whenever I've ran out of hoof oil, like if you just spray a little coat shine on like a towel and rub it into their feet, that
shines them up, huh?
A little life hack.
It's good to know.
So long tails, we have the prettiest little pony out here.
She's funny.
She's a miniature horse.
She's funny though.
Her tail
She's really funny. What color is
it
she though?
drags.
She's like, her color is like a ombre
She is like
hairstyle.
an ombre.
Brown,
But because she's out in the
red,
weather,
orange,
she's a
like,
riot. It's just a wild woman. But anyway, her
She
tail
looks
is
like she
very
has a
long.
balayage. She's
Yeah,
she's
there you go.
darling.
She's hilarious.
Absolutely darling.
And
But
she's
her
very
tail
little.
is so long, it just drags
Drags on the
behind
ground.
her. Do you, I mean, like, we don't want to cut it. It's just so cute. Is
Yeah.
that, do you think that's okay to leave her tail like that, or do you think we should be trying to cut it for her? Would there be a reason
like
that
it
we,
long and
I know,
pretty.
she's so pretty.
I mean, the only reason why I would say to cut it would be like so she doesn't step all over it. If she's getting around fine with her long tail trailing behind her,
She
then
does.
I love it.
She's like Rapunzel.
She's so funny. She's so little, but we have a drinking post that's low. She's dramatic. She won't just go up to it and drink with a paddle. She picks her leg up and puts her hoof in like a dressage horse, gets the water, and then she drinks it. But she's like with her little leg up in the air. I mean, she's quite the woman. She
Yes,
really
I
is.
mean, we should not have to push with our mouths to get the water.
She
you
wants
know,
to just
she
press
wants-
it,
Very sassy. I love her already.
She is sassy. She's a sassy girl. She's very cute. She has a lot
She
of
pulls a
personality.
cart, and she's just, she's so cute.
Oh,
It
that's
would
awesome.
do her good to have a good grooming, though.
She
She really
does
needs
need
a good grooming.
grooming.
She's gone rogue through a little bit through the winter time. so, yeah.
So speaking of that, we're coming right into spring. I mean,
Yes.
we have
Yeah.
sheep out here too. They're going to get sheared soon.
Yep.
What is the
Okay.
best thing for us to do as, I mean, we come into the spring months for them because here it's colder. I know where you guys are. Do you have the same issues that we do where you're coming out of a winter time thing, and what do you do?
Issues as far as like
Like the
shedding
shedding,
out of
do you want to
coat.
help to shed the process? Do you want to help to brush them so you are helping them through the shedding process?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, body clipping would totally forego the whole shedding process, which is definitely helpful, for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not getting their hair all over us every day. You get your hair all over you for one day, and
Yeah.
True.
and the rest is clear sailing, and they stay clean.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if they're not having, a problem shedding out, and you want to leave them without being clipped, like that's totally fine too. Like I never like push clipping on anybody. If you feel your horse needs it, then yeah, like definitely do it. But if they're getting around fine and, not, sweating uncomfortably just standing around, like I always tell people, if your horse is standing around doing nothing and they're sweating, then they need a body clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you can like take your hand into their coat and like fluff up their hair between your fingers, then they likely need to be body clipped, especially in the southern states.
So do you have any products that you really just love that you've just had the best results with? And they make your horse like shiny and just beautiful.
Maybe smell
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
Smell good
so
too.
speaking of shiny, there is one product that's by like a small little boutique like product line. It's called the Infused Equestrian,
Okay.
and they have a product that's called Shiny, and it does exactly that for your horse. It makes them super shiny, but it's marketed as a mane and tail conditioner, but it also works as a coat conditioner. And the reason why I love that product so much is because it doesn't have any lanolin in it, and lanolin is what you find in a lot of coat shine products, but it makes it so slippery that you can't jump on bareback without almost falling off, or you can't run your fingers through their tail without getting like grease all over your hand.
Yeah.
So I really love that product because it's such like a limited ingredient product, and like they do a lot of research behind it too, so it's very well made, and it lasts for, I think I've gotten like 3 days out of it, whereas with like a regular show sheen product, you'd have to use it like every day. So yeah, it's nice. It's very nice. I like that product a lot. And for clipping, Wall is a great brand for clipping. I have the KM10 clipper from Wall. I have the Wall Bravura Lithium cordless clipper, which is like my new best friend.
Wow.
So yeah, their products are really great, and their service is excellent as well. So if
That's
something
nice.
breaks or if you need help troubleshooting something, they're always there to help.
That's nice.
So, do you have the mosquito problem like we have up here? And what do you use for that? Like we've tried Skin So Soft, we've tried different sprays, but do you have anything that you found that works well?
I mean, mosquitoes, they are just a forever pest, and I feel like there's no good way to really like get a grip on them. I have had a lot of success with Piranha fly spray. I've seen a lot of poor reactions from Ultra Shield, unfortunately. I've seen a lot of, like, my personal horse has gotten chemical burns from that. I've seen a lot of other horses, like their skin starts peeling from it. So I'm very skeptical over, the fly spray insect repellent products that I use on my horses. But so far, everybody seems to do pretty well with Piranha. Bronco is another good one. It's a very economically priced product. And I've had a lot of success with that as well.
So when you said they've had skin problems, we've never come across that before. That's why we did the most natural that we could find for a while. It was that we did the Skin So Soft, but we now are like in a woodsy kind of we're called like the black swamp area here, so we have to do something that's a little more heavy duty. So we use the Bronco. we've never had a chemical burn. So what would you say if you're trying out a new product? Do you do like a patch area, or do you just spray
Yeah,
them and
I
see
would.
what happens?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend doing like a small area. You know, pick a shoulder or pick a hind quarter to spray it on. Because if you just spray it on like a small area, then like you're not going to see a whole
Right.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit bigger of a spot would be better to test on. And you know, sometimes you're not going to see a problem arise for a few days,
Mm-hmm.
because it can take a little while for the skin to start showing damage. But yeah, definitely, like especially when you're trying a product that has a lot of ingredients in it or is, you know, known to be like a high chemical product, like certainly, you know, gradually start introducing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
So I have a question that just for fun, and if you want to say, you know, I don't know if you've ever done it, but have you had anybody or yourself and you just wanted to bling your horse out a little bit or put a pattern on their rump or something? What have you done anything fun like that, or what's been something that would be fun that you could say that you did that was a little off the edge of the beaten
Yeah.
path? You know, yes.
Yes, I did. So for Christmas this past year, well, actually, I shouldn't jump to Christmas right away. Uh, let's go back to Halloween.
Okay.
So like if it comes out looking like crap, it's not like that big a deal because it's Halloween. Like
Right.
it's supposed to be spooky, right?
Right. There you go.
So I experimented with a little bit of clip art on Halloween.
There you
And
go.
like clip art is not my forte. Like you'll see pictures of like the Lion King on horses, and I'm like,
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I made a pumpkin on my
Ooh,
horse,
there you go.
and that came out good. So then I pressed my luck a little bit, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try a ghost on the other side of him.
Whoa.
But I mean, the ghost, it was fairly easy, and it came out okay, but it didn't really look much like a ghost. I would say, so have you ever seen Finding Nemo?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
And you know the little octopus,
Yeah.
that ink, it reminded me of that. So I was like, okay, it doesn't really look like a ghost, looks more like an octopus. But I was pleasantly pleased with my pumpkin.
Oh, how cute.
So because of that, I decided for Christmas I was going to do a big Christmas scene on my horse.
Wow. Wow.
And it was pretty gutsy of me to try. I definitely messed up a couple of times during it, but the finished product you can't really tell.
Aw.
But not everybody has to know that. But yeah, so I did the New York City skyline on my horse
Oh,
with
wow.
Santa in his sleigh with reindeer, and like I made the front one be Rudolph.
I
Oh my
wondered
God,
why
let's
your
see
face lit up
pictures.
so much
Oh.
when my mom asked you.
And did you live in New York too? Is that
I
correct?
am super proud of my Christmas clip.
That's
That's
awesome.
cool.
Did you live in
Yeah.
New York before too as well? Have you been?
Yes.
Right. And we would
Yes.
love to see pictures of that. That's great. How cute would that be?
Yeah. I'm
Wow.
originally from Long Island, so
That's
I
what I
wanted to
thought.
tie in, you know, something from
Wow.
home into my Christmas clip.
Yes. How special
How
was
long
that?
did that take you?
Oh gosh, it took me, I want to say like 2.5 hours to do.
That's
And your horse
Because
is patient?
I'm a perfectionist and everything has to be just right, and like
Yes.
down to like the antlers.
Wow.
I was in there very
Wow.
meticulously
Gosh.
getting all
Wow.
those little grooves, and
You have a good
it wasn't
horse.
easy. And I probably wouldn't do it often.
Wow.
So very creative, and a writer, likes the English language and the creativity with art, and so everything
Yep.
that you could just bundle it all
You're
into that right
creative.
there. It seems like, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So with all of this that you do for everybody else's horses, when do you get to spend time with your horse, and do you get to show anymore?
So unfortunately, I don't show anymore. The last show that I did with him was, you know, right before I left New York. When I was working at the hospital, I was working very, very long days, and I would I was lucky if I got out to see my horse like twice a week
Mm-hmm.
when I was working there. But since, doing my own thing, like I get to see him every day now, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
During the show season, when I'm taking care of the horses in Wellington, I don't get to ride him that often. But I still go out and see him every day. And then, once the off season comes, then I'll ride him like 5 to 6 days a week, slowly bring him back into work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
nice.
Nice.
That's so nice.
All right. Well, this is it for the segment of the podcast, and we'll take a short break and move into Canter Banter.
Our next segment, Canter Banter, is brought to you by Ram Horse Fencing and Stalls, the one-stop shop for your horse farm. Ram is family-owned and operated and has been in business for over 30 years. We welcome you to call in and speak with an expert about your next project today at 866-653-8984. Again, that's 866-653-8984.
So, whenever you go out, when you trail your horse out somewhere, you usually have like a checklist of things that you bring with you, make sure you have everything. And usually I'm very good about, packing all of my things. But not this time. My friend Martine and we went and trailered out to a state park that we had never ridden at yet. And I was like super excited to go because I've heard such like great things about this park, that it's like super scenic and it's like big and wide and open and it's beautiful. So I was like all excited to go. So I just like threw all my stuff together and put my horse in a trailer and off we went. And as we're driving, I just had like this moment, like we're chatting and I was like, oh, like crap, like I forgot my saddle pad. I was like, what do we do? Like I can't, like I can't ride him bareback in this like brand new park that we've not been to yet. So she was like, oh, don't worry about it. Like Dover's on the way. We'll stop at Dover. But the Dover in Long Island is in Huntington. I don't know if you're familiar with Long Island towns, but Huntington is not a horsey friendly town. So like it was kind of difficult to get there with like the horses in tow.
Yeah.
So we had to pull up onto, this busy roadway. She pulled into like a bus stop area on the side of the road.
With a horse
I had to
trailer.
cross like, with a horse trailer. Because we couldn't fit in the parking lot.
Right.
for a horse trailer, and I needed my saddle pad. So I hopped out. I crossed like, I don't know, 6 lanes of traffic to get to Dover. Got my saddle pad.
Oh, wow.
Get back in the truck. We're at the park now, and I tie him up in the trailer. We're getting ready. I'm tacking him up. Put my saddle on. I'm like, shit, where's my girth? So not only did I not pack my saddle pad, but I didn't pack my girth either, and I didn't realize it until I got there.
Oh no.
So I was like, well, we're here now, and I'm just gonna have to ride him bareback through the park, which I did, and he was an absolute saint. Like, I'm so lucky with that horse.
Wow. That was really
It was
he did
amazing.
well to ride bareback through the state
Yes.
park.
And
That
it
was
one
really
of our
good.
best rides. So
Oh,
Isn't
wow.
it great? Oh wow.
Yeah.
And you went
Yeah.
through the city, and
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's good stuff.
That was
because
major.
I could never, I haven't driven a trailer. I mean, very often, very few times in my life have I. But even my husband, who's pretty good at it, even my brother, who's very, very good at driving, I don't know if they could even get through that city like that.
Yeah,
You
that'd be
guys are
crazy.
brave.
Not only brave, but really good with your
Those
riding,
horses had
and
a
what a
ride.
good memory. Right, exactly. Yeah. At the bus
Cool.
station.
Very cool.
Oh, thank you.
We hope you enjoyed listening to our podcast and encourage you to share with all of your equestrian family and friends. You can tune into the Late Night Riders podcast show every Friday night. Each episode will be uploaded exclusively on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all of our latest shows. Do you have a topic you'd like us to discuss? We want to hear from you. You may email us at podcast@ramfence.com or feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you again for listening.